Radio, VA1 Radio. VA1 Radio, VA1 Radio.
Our Almighty God, Creator of heaven and earth, Father and lover of our soul, you sit on your throne of mercy and rule with your love and faithfulness. You are full of grace. We acknowledge your presence in our lives. Nothing is hidden in your eyes, even our challenges and struggles in life. We come to you with faith. We ask not only for our daily spiritual bread, but to seek your forgiveness and undeserving favor to heal our land, our family members, our friends and neighbors, even our enemies with COVID-19 and other diseases. Holy Spirit, help us to deepen our faith and see the opportunity to believe, obey, and worship. As we face this pandemic, you are Lord and God. Encourage us and change our hearts, not to fear, but to be full of hope and find ourselves praying and meditating your word. We believe no works of the enemy prosper to your children. Abba, Father, we believe that your Son Jesus Christ is Lord and Savior. He is the truth and our salvation. Hear our prayers, O Lord, and most of all, not our will, but thy will be done. We pray this in Jesus' name, the name above all names, who was and is to come. Amen.
Naghahatid saya sa mga Pinoy, mga kanta at programang Tatak Pinoy. Napapanood at napapakinggan kahit saan ka man. Streaming worldwide. In South Manila, this is V81 Radio.
Malayo ka man sa iyong pamilya, dito ay hindi ka nag-iisa. Tiyak ito'y iyong hahanap-hanapin, dahil ito ang nagpapasaya sa atin.
VA1 Radio, VA1 Radio.
Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko.
VA1 Radio, VA1 Radio.
Dahil mahal namin kayo.
VA1 Radio, VA1 Radio.
Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio. Ito ang paborito ng bawat Pilipino. Basta all hits, all Pinoy, panalo. Merong kwentong iyakan at tawanan. Kahit nasaan ka man ito'y mapapakinggan.
VA1 Radio, VA1 Radio.
Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko.
VA1 Radio, VA1 Radio. Radio.
Dahil mahal namin kayo.
VA1 Radio. VA1 Radio.
Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio. Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko. Dahil mahal namin kayo. Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program anchors and producers and do not necessarily reflect the policies and position of this station. Buckle up and get ready, set, and go! Join Sports Girl anchor Nicole Ganglani as she dives deep into the lives of athletes, fitness personalities, and enthusiasts from the sports industry. This is Sportswatch, only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Mga ka-sports tropa, this is your sports girl anchor Nicole Ganglani, welcoming you to our show today where we talk all things sports and fitness. Buckle up, get ready, set, and go. We're here to put the spotlight on different athletes from different sports to hopefully inspire you. So here at Sportswatch, like what I had just mentioned, we aim to feature different athletes from different sports. For today's episode, I'm excited to talk about self-defense martial arts, Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu, or Jits as referred to as well, is a self-defense martial art that focuses on the skill of taking an opponent to the ground, controlling one's opponent, gaining a dominant position, and using a number of techniques to force them into position or submission. For this episode, we're going to be talking to two remarkable local JITS athletes who will tell us more about the sport, their careers, and its culture here in the Philippines. Let's bring out Dean Rojas and Carliopen. Hi,
Hi,
Dean and
guys.
Carlo. Welcome
Hi.
again to the show. I'm really happy to have you both over to talk about the sport. So, good morning and thanks for spending your Saturday morning here with us.
Morning, guys. Thank you for having us as well, Nicole.
Yeah, how are you guys feeling today?
Always fabulous and awesome.
That's great to hear. So I'd like to ask you guys now before we dive deep into Jitsu's career here in the Philippines and your careers per se, I'd like to ask you, how did you both get into the sport? Obviously, it's a martial arts sport. It takes time to learn and train. So I'd like to ask, how did you both get into it basically? So maybe we can start with you, Carlo.
I actually did another martial art before. I was doing
Okay.
martial art, and then my coach or my instructor at that time was moving to the States.
Hmm.
When he left, he told me, "Oh, you have to, since I'm not going to be here anymore, maybe it's a good chance to try other martial arts." And then he gave me like some recommendations. He recommended to me some groups that I could try and I could join, and then I ended up trying jiu-jitsu, and I really liked it, and I just ended up focusing on jiu-jitsu.
That's great. That's good to hear. How about you, naman, Dean? How did you get into the sport?
I'm fortunate to have been around people who have been practicing the sport, people I've been interacting with. But since I had commitments to other sports like track and field and basketball back in
Mm.
high school and even university, I wasn't able to pursue martial arts because risk of injury. So
Yeah.
fortunately, 2014, I wasn't doing any other sport other than just lifting weights. So I decided to give it a try, and I've been addicted ever since.
Yeah. Also, I know I gave a brief background, or more so, like I tried my best to introduce the sport. as well as possible. But I'd like to ask you guys, in your own words, how would you describe jujitsu, or yeah, how would you describe it, and what makes the sport different compared to other martial arts sport? Maybe we can start with you, Dean.
Jiu-Jitsu is actually a martial art that can be done by, you know, all sorts of people. Like you don't have to have a certain attribute because the beauty of the art is that you adjust what you can do with your like physical and personal capabilities, and you're not limited. So you're actually gonna see the personality of the person in their style. Like for example, like people with longer legs, they tend to do certain positions more, which require using the length of their legs. But people with strong upper bodies and like let's say shorter limbs, they tend to employ another type of game, and it also depends on the background of person. So if they feel like they're more explosive on their feet, then they're gonna try to always stay on top. But some people prefer to be on their backs when they have the
Mm-hmm.
comfort of maybe a strong core. So it's really like you see the personality in each person when they do the art.
So is that an advantageous thing for, let's say, people who are, I guess, more built, or it doesn't really matter because everyone has different styles?
I think Carlo wants to take that one.
Everyone, yeah, jiu-jitsu works for everyone. Like depending
Okay.
how you want to express yourself. Like, do you want to have an aggressive style? Do you want
Yeah.
to be more passive and like have more setups? It's just so many ways to. I think that's one of the things that I like. I mean, other than it's so effective and you don't need to punch and kick anyone to defend yourself or to hurt someone or to protect someone. I think that's of course one thing that's very a really good feature of jiu-jitsu. But another thing is that there's so many styles and there's so many techniques. It's like, for example, if you do kickboxing, how many techniques are there? I mean, of course, the skills can be developed so much, right? I mean, uh, a beginner's punch and expert's punch is totally different. But in jiu-jitsu, there is that. There is like, of course, the spectrum of the level of skill, but also just the techniques. I think there's like unending techniques in jiu-jitsu because, like I said,
Really?
boxing, there's like a left punch, right punch. Of course,
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah.
punch, jab, straight hook, uppercut,
Wow,
overhand.
it sounds like you're so accustomed to boxing, ah. Do you
In
box?
jiu-jitsu, there's so many.
Striker si Carlo.
There's,
Striker si Carlo before.
yeah, not really. So many techniques. Like you'll never run out. Even if you
Yeah.
practice years, 30 years, 40 years, I don't think you could do all the techniques.
Yeah. So, Carlo, I'd like to ask you, by the way, for those watching, Carlo, I just heard actually a couple of days ago, Carlo's a SEA Games gold medalist. So, congrats on that. And we're really happy to hear your perspective on the sport. So, I gotta ask, you had mentioned styles, diba? Or techniques, or the patterns you do. Is it okay if we can ask you what is your style like, or is that like we're giving away your weapon
No,
too? No,
there's
naman.
nothing. Yeah, there's no secrets, naman. Yeah, that's another thing.
Okay.
There's really no secrets in jiu-jitsu. It's just how much research you put, how much work you put into
Yeah,
the sport, and like how do you practice, and how much do you expose yourself? Like, do you train with the best people, or do you train with people that you only know that you can handle? You work with the best in the world, because I mean that's another thing about jiu-jitsu is like the people who are the best in the world, you can access them. Like,
Oh, interesting. How do you
yeah,
do that?
oh, let's say boxing. If you wanted to train with Manny Pacquiao, it's hard, right? Like you need
Yeah, for sure, for
to,
sure.
and you need to be like a certain level. He might
Yeah,
not par with you if he feels like he's just wasting your time.
yeah.
Uh, Jiu-jitsu is a little bit more accessible. Like, let's say you identify, oh, I want to train with this person. He's one of the best in the world, and he's accomplished this much. It's not that hard. Like, you could, like most of the best athletes or the best coaches, they have a gym, and you just enroll in their gym, and you have
So
a
the
chance.
network is pretty much accessible. Yeah.
It's a little bit
it
more open.
is. It is.
A little bit more open.
So how do you develop your style, or I guess like techniques based on your body build, or more so just for you? Do you study the whole thing, or is it something that just comes naturally?
Maybe takes a little while. Like you have to, of course, learn the basics, understand the idea, and then
Yeah.
if you keep on training, that's another thing with jiu-jitsu because you practice live. Like when you do boxing, sometimes you're just punching a focus
The
punch.
but yeah.
Sometimes you're just punching a wall bag or a punching bag, or you're just shadow boxing solo. Jiu-jitsu, I mean, you do that. You do study and you do practice your techniques, but I think there would be maybe like 99% of jiu-jitsu trainings or each of jiu-jitsu sessions, you're training like with a partner with resistance.
Hmm.
So I think that's another thing that
Yeah. Yes.
why
So
the
Yeah, can I add to that? Can I add
yeah,
to
for
that one?
sure. Go Dean. Go Dean.
Just to add with what Carlos said, that's why you expose yourself in certain situations with different people. So that's where your style comes out. That's where your tendencies come out. You see maybe the holes in that current game of yours, and you learn from everyone. That's why
Yeah.
it's a good metaphor to life because who you train with or who you always with, that's you sort of integrate with how they respond to what you give. So, like, let's say, for example, Carlo has been, one of my staple training partners for, the six
Mm.
years that I've been training jiu-jitsu. So, we've grown into different people through those styles that we've been employing. So, we're able to further solidify what we both know because um, we expose ourselves to each other when we train. So I know that his tendency is this one, and he knows that I'm gonna do this. So like sometimes when we're sparring, it's like a chess match that's never ending, but it's like it's beautiful because there's the flow because we both know how to get around it. But there's also that part that do you want to expose yourself to this position? Let's say this sort of style that Carlo has that before it was a kryptonite, let's say, of this certain person. So if you expose yourself there, are you exposing yourself to learn or are you exposing yourself to just win? So you can always go in with a different objective in every sparring session with everyone you train with. That's the beauty of it. So
Yeah.
it's just how you integrate it and absorb the lessons and taking a certain level of ego out so that we can all learn from you
Yeah.
know getting into different and dangerous positions, especially against someone who's specialized at a certain
Yeah.
technique.
Yeah. So what I've gotten based on how you both describe it is that it's a continuous learning process since what Carlo had mentioned nga kanina na parang ang daming styles and it's enormous unlike sport like boxing no where it's just specific moves and all. So that's great like it's an endless learning process. So
Yeah,
that sounds like fun. It's like you're always just learning, no?
yeah.
So how
I
do
mean,
you
even
guys?
if
Yeah, go,
I
Dean.
mean, like even on days that you just want to unwind, like you just go in with no expectation, you just flow. It's also fun because like when we were training for the Sea Games, it was different because we were out there just really just we were just trying to peak and just maximize every session.
Yeah,
So every session it was calculated. There were objectives per session for each of us. So
yes,
depending on the people we're gonna fight in the divisions, and the people that we've scouted from the other countries and other teams. So, but again, that's the beauty of it. Some days you can go in with an objective. Some days you can just flow. And if people are stressed, I think that's a good outlet. Like they just get into their comfort zone of flow.
yeah, yeah.
if you have
So
an event, of course it's different because you have a mission. It's like you don't wanna
Yeah,
go and lose, right? And especially if
yeah,
it's like an event with like Sea Games in
yes,
2019,
yes,
for sure, you didn't really want to disappoint people.
for
So
sure.
training
of
for that
course.
when you don't really have anything in the horizon, you're just kind of chilling.
Yeah, that's true.
Training
That's
is
really
Yeah.
true.
fun.
So a few weeks ago, I talked to two kendo athletes, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the sport kendo.
It's like the sword.
Yes, yes, it's also a martial art actually. And they had told me the hindi naman I wouldn't say challenge, but maybe a tricky part about it is that when you're in a competition, you go up against an opponent na hindi mo alam yung move kahit how many times you scout them, or you'll just basically have to work your way when you're competing against them. I'd like to ask, is it the same in Jiu-Jitsu? Like, kumare you're in the SEA Games, you don't really know what style your opponent will play against you, or is it something na parang you study them and then okay, this is how their style is, you scout them, and in that way that's how you incorporate or improvise your moves?
The field in Southeast Asia is really small, so there's only like how many countries, and then in those countries, you know a little bit beforehand, like who's gonna be in the team for the event, and we're able to scout. Actually, we know exactly what we're going up against, and we plan a little bit
Yeah,
specifically what we're going against.
yeah, it makes
But
sense then.
but
Yeah,
but there are also competitions where, like,
Yeah,
let's say you go to Japan or you go to Brazil, like Carlo, who's been to Brazil and
yeah,
competed
we'll
in the
have
States. Like,
that
there are
later.
people. There's like in other places, it's a big field, so you never know who you're gonna get. Like, there's the draw. You get the brackets sometimes the day itself, sometimes the day before, sometimes a few days before. So it really depends. So you just have to be prepared and adjust, because if once you're there, you can't be frozen like, oh, I'm not
For
prepared for
sure.
this guy.
Yeah,
So it's always going in with that. You just worry about yourself and what your holes are in your game, and when you're there, it's just time to display what you've been working on. So that's also the beauty of it, because there's also that ambiguous side. But of course, like, with the luxury of technology now, YouTube and friends from other countries, you can scout those people
yeah,
even before you fight them, given that you know that they're going to be at that event.
for sure. Yeah. All
it's a
right.
big advantage to have the experience of going in those kinds of events, like the events where you don't really get to scout before, you don't know who you're going against,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they're
yeah,
game plan in like 10 minutes or even like 1 minute. Like if you see his previous match, you should have like an idea how to address his
yeah.
game. But if it's SEA Games, it's so easy because 6 months ahead you already know. You can even go to the event where you know the team, you can film them, you could like play their matches in slow mo. Oh, he's doing a mistake. I can take advantage of that mistake.
Hey, we're giving away what we're doing, bro. So you better play. I'm just joking. No, I'm sure they're doing it too.
Yeah, for sure. So it's really studying your opponent then, ganon, and then finding a way to game plan. I mean, obviously there are sports naman ganyan. Actually, a lot of sports focus on
Most,
that
because
as well. Yeah,
everyone
because
everyone wants to win. Everyone wants to
yeah,
win.
for sure. So I'd like to ask you both. Carlo stressed on events, no, the importance of going to events or maybe just competing in events to really develop your skills. So individually, you both are teammates, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
national
I'd
team
like
and
national.
our private club. Yeah.
Okay. Can you give details about your private club, or is it like private?
No, it's not private, right? Well, we're
No.
not open. We're not training in public now, but we're part
Yeah.
of. So that's like an international affiliation, and then we are the recognized affiliate here in the
Yeah.
Philippines. We have a few gyms here, and there's a number of coaches here in Manila and around the
Okay.
Philippines.
Where are your gyms? Where are your gyms? Just to give our viewers
The main gym right now is in Pasig, but then we
passing.
have gyms in Quezon City, and
Mm.
we had one in PGC, but that one closed down because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Uh, we have like representatives in Bulacan and saan pa ba?
Makati.
Makati.
Well, you're all around. You're nationwide,
Yeah, there's
ish.
have a number of gyms.
Yeah. So, can
Yeah.
you please tell us lang the jiu-jitsu tournaments you both have participated in? I suppose I'm assuming it's different naman for the both of you. But sige, but siguro the biggest lang you've gone to. If I'm not mistaken, that's the SEA Games, right?
Well, we can name several. Depends
Yeah,
on,
go for it.
like
Go for it.
for example, Carlo fought in the States and in Brazil several times. I fought in Abu Dhabi World Championships, and we both fought in Sweden. So we have a few.
Yeah.
But for me, one of the biggest ones that I was exposed to early in my jiu-jitsu career, fortunately enough to be exposed to, was the Abu Dhabi World Pro, which was in 2017. Like, I saw
Yeah.
that was my first international competition at that level because it's a world's level. So in my bracket, in my division, which is under 85 kilos, there were a lot of like in the world standard. There's a lot of people at that size and at that height, basically. So because in the Philippines, when I'd fight people in my division, it's normally just 5 to 8, sometimes
Yeah.
10, which is a luxury for us because of the average height here. But when I went to Abu Dhabi, there were like 70, 60 people in my division, which made it like one of the biggest tournaments I was a part of.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I was able to win six times, no, fight 6 times. So, but after that,
Congratulations,
I
by the
still I
way.
still didn't. I was still not in the podium, which just showed the level of competition and the number of
Mm,
people that I had to fight so that I could get the gold. And that was the eye opener for me. I mean, apart from the Sea Games and the
yeah.
World Championships in Sweden that we went to, because I saw that at that level there were so many people that with my size who could perform, and it just inspired me to train harder. Yeah.
Yeah. Carlo, Dean, siguro we'll get to that a little bit later when we dissect what to expect in a tournament. How about you naman, Carlo? What are some of the biggest tournaments you've participated in?
For national team, I've done the Worlds, I've done Asian Championship, I've done Sea Games, I've done Asian Games.
Well,
Um,
that's a lot.
I qualified for Sea Games this year, so the one that's going to be in Vietnam.
In
And then,
2021?
yeah,
Yeah,
later
yeah.
this
Oh, sorry.
year.
2021 na pala.
2020 didn't count because it
Yeah, I
doesn't have
know.
2020.
That's why I'm just like, it was so fast. I felt like I
we
was just
didn't
covering
have
the SEA Games the other day.
we didn't have
Go.
any didn't have any events last year, so
Yeah.
it 2020 didn't count. And actually, some of the events for scheduled for last year are moved to this year and even next year. Pa.
Yeah, so, segue, for 2021, magkakatuloy yung SEA Games
I
despite
think
like,
I hope so. I think the PSC and the POC is moving forward, assuming that it will push through. Kasi December
interesting.
pa naman, and most of
Late this month naman siya, no? So by then, di
will
ba?
be vaccinated already by that time, most likely.
Hopefully,
They're
hopefully.
pushing vaccines for athletes, especially the ones who are qualified. Well, the ones who are going to the Olympics, I think for sure they'll be vaccinated soon. And then hopefully the ones who are going to the Sea Games and also the other athletes
Yeah.
will be vaccinated also.
So, Carlo, sorry, I might have missed that. What was that again? Asian Games, SEA Games.
Asian Games is so I did the Asian Games in 2018, and next year there's going to be Asian Games again, and I hope
Where is
I'll
it
be.
going to be held?
Next year is China.
China.
China, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have the SEA Games, and then
Um, and then I don't know if the Asian Beach Games is going to push through. IMAG, which is the Asian Indoor
It's an
Martial Arts.
indoor martial arts. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's in March, early next
hmm,
year. It was supposed to be this year, and then they moved that to
May,
next
right?
year,
May,
March.
March.
Yeah, so that's actually early. I wait, March or April, but that's
yeah.
going to be, and so I'm really psyched for that. I hope that pushes through.
So to
But
give
then
us,
it
sorry,
goes
go
through
on.
like momentum na, tuloy-tuloy na. It's
Yeah.
like,
Hopefully. I mean, we all want to see sports soon.
Yeah.
2020 was just not the year of sports. I guess if you didn't go to a bubble or whatever league, whatever it was improvised, no. So can we go through the photos lang? Can we roll that? Okay, or can we roll the photos, Sir Michael? Okay, I guess we're having tech difficulties, no. But there. Okay, so this was in the Asian Games, like what you had mentioned, Carlo, I believe.
no, this
No,
is
that's the Asian Open.
AIF, Asian
Asian.
Championship.
Okay,
This was
you
not
were
on
number
the
one.
national team because
It's a
IBJJF,
different federation. Yeah.
but I think
Was this like a solo
IBJJF is
tournament?
a little bit. You could say it's a little bit more competitive. Also, it's competitive in a different way. It's more
Yeah,
established a little bit. Like the field is.
nice. Was this with the national team or it was an individual
It's
tournament?
not with national. This is with
Okay,
our. We're so
Private
for
club. Yeah.
Yeah, private club. So
Nice.
we're representing Atos Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah. Who did you face in this tournament?
I went against everyone I went against was from Japan. So in Japan, their jiu-jitsu is pretty developed there because it was well, actually, it originated there, but it's one of the first countries that the Brazilians went to spread Brazilian jiu-jitsu, which is what we practice. And then in this tournament specifically, I closed out with my teammates, so we were 1 and 2. Here, my teammate Eros.
That's nice. Way to bring pride for the country. 1 and 2. That's great. This was in 2017.
Yeah.
Nice. Next photo, please. Oh, this is still you, Carlo. Nice. This was SEA Games. I remember. I mean, I know the color pattern, right? Last year's SEA
Yeah,
Games. Yeah. This was when you got first place.
gold. Yeah.
Nice. So, what was the team's overall ranking? Or is it more of an individual kind of thing?
Oh, we
We
got over.
dominated.
Yeah,
Yeah, we got overall 5 out
Nice.
of the 11 golds, right?
yeah, 5 golds and then 2 silvers.
5-3-3.
Yeah,
0-2 ba?
Nice. What teams came after you guys? Like
Thailand and Singapore. Thailand.
Thailand and
I don't
Singapore.
know. Singapore got 2 golds. Thailand got 2 golds. I don't know about the other
Would you
belt.
say the Southeast Asia countries are competitive as well, or do you think we're, I wouldn't say way ahead, but do you think we're more superior?
I think we were more ahead before. Like maybe a few years ago, we were more ahead, and Singapore and Thailand are actually catching up
They're
now.
catching up now.
They're
Okay,
catching.
They have
so
good grassroots programs that
Yeah,
are,
yeah,
supported well by the government, so they're able
okay,
to put all the funding and into a very specific sports
yeah,
program. That's why most of the most of the athletes from the other countries, their average age is a bit younger because
yeah.
some of them were just developed from the youth programs that they have been employing, if I'm not mistaken, 5 years ago. It's not that old yet, the program. So there's a lot of potential for all the sports. I mean, all the teams in Southeast Asia. I mean, even the Philippines.
yeah. I
It's gonna
don't
get
mean.
it's
Sorry,
gonna
go ahead.
get it's gonna get more competitive like in the coming years. But then we're also developing our kids too. So I have a kids team, and I think that I have a number of athletes who will also make it to national team at some point, and I'm hoping that they can also represent and do well for the country.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big deal, of course. But I don't mean to get too political in this, but I'd like to ask, Dean, kanina you had mentioned na countries like Singapore have their own support from their own government or have some sort of like basically support from um other departments. How about you guys naman here in the Philippines? How is it like? Are we supported by the Philippine Sports Commission or
Oh
we're
yeah, we are actually a recognized NSA, and the victory of the team in Sea Games just put the because it's a young sport and it's the first time that Jiu-Jitsu was included in the Southeast Asian Games with the
oh
Philippines as the host. So it's actually a very young sport, and it's an NSA that's approved and recognized by slowly getting recognized even more by the POC and recognized by the PSC. So we have the government support because it's a young sport. That's why not like the other sports like karate, taekwondo, Muay
yeah,
Thai, and boxing. They've been recognized as official sports, not just in the Southeast Asian Games, but Olympics and Asian Games for a number of years. Which is why we are fortunate to be the first batch of athletes who are actually funded by the government and representing the country in multi-sport events like SEA Games, Asian Games, Asian Indoor Games, Asian Indoor Martial Arts Games. So there's a lot of potential with it.
yes,
We
yes, that's
want to
good to
participate in more events so that we could get more results, and that so that
yeah,
the government would give us even more support. But
yeah.
we're supported pretty well right now.
That's awesome. That's great to hear. I'm happy to hear that.
Just
Can
more
you show
exposure, basically.
the next photo slash video? Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is how it's like in a tournament.
under
Yes.
56 kilograms versus Indonesia.
I didn't even know his middle name was Angelo. Good to know. And 6 minutes. Here we
Ooh.
looks like the Indonesian in red belt looking to go for a takedown on
Mhm.
Carlo. That would be 2 points if he does succeed. But right now the score is still 0-0. And he has a single leg. Carlo has to defend this. And if he stabilizes this, he gets 3 points. And he gets 2 points here. But not to fear, Carlo is very savvy with his guard game here. Looking for that collar and sleeve grip. Still a long match. 5 minutes and 24 to go.
Mhm.
Carlo Pena from the Philippines down by 2. So you can see here Carlo is playing his guard game. He's trying to open up the lapel. As
Uh-huh.
we saw in the earlier fights, the lapel is a good form of control that can be used to choke opponents and have proper control. So here he is,
Ano ba dapat
looking
naririnig
good
ko?
here, looking
Ito?
to go for a sweep.
Dapat.
As you can see, Carlo is almost pulling his gi over his head. The referee has to step in and fix that. Carlo controlling the collar and sleeve, his left hand grabbing the lapel, right hand grabbing the sleeve there. You can hear the crowd cheering Carlo on. This is the gold medal, and he's gonna get a sweep. He gets a sweep. He needs to stabilize, and he gets the 2 points.
Now we're tied.
Now the score is tied, but Carlo has a really good position to pass. He is in control of this fight, even though the score is tied. The Indonesian playing half guard, and as we saw from Carlo's earlier fight, Carlo was able to pass the half guard. So Carlo is not a stranger to this position right here. Carlo grabbing that gi grip, that's a very solid grip, and trying to clear his leg off the half guard. As you can see, his Indonesian counterpart trying to go for an underhook. Oh, there we go. Carlos getting head control, and he's going to look for knee slice so he can get clear the leg and get side control. That would give him 3 points and a commanding lead. So as you can see here for the finals match, there's not only a middle referee, but there are 2 referees on the sides. So that helps the accuracy of the refereeing, and it's good to see. And here we have Carlo passing the guard, getting side control, stabilizes for 3 seconds, and he's getting the point. So I believe the score right now is 5 points to 2 with Carlo up.
Wow. So that was a preview of Jiu-Jitsu. That was really fun to watch, Carlo. That was in the Sea Games, right? In the previous Sea
Yeah,
Games.
that was in the
Yeah.
Sea Games. 2 years ago.
How long did you train for that, or is that something you just knew all your life?
Well, of course, I've been preparing my game for a while, but specifically for that event, I think we did about 6 months of a camp, and then we did like 1 month in Japan, and then we had comps to prepare us for that event also because it was really a big deal for PSC and POC that we were gonna have
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu for the
Yeah.
first time, and then we were hosting, and
Yeah.
then they really wanted they really wanted a good result from us, so we prepared well.
Yeah. Oh wow. I'd like to ask you both. How did you gradually develop your talents for the sport? Obviously, you both said this is something you were exposed to when you guys were growing up. But how did you like? Was it always just constant training, or like more so of you just got better through the competitions you competed in? Maybe we can start with you, Carlo.
Um, of course, you gain a lot of experience when you compete in events. So joining the big events, training with a strong team, and getting good coaches, getting training with people that you can trust,
Mm. How about you naman, Dean?
committing a lot of time, right?
Yeah. How did you
Well, this
develop your talents for the sport?
um, I think you just have to recognize and be honest with yourself what you can physically do, and then you start from there, and then just expose yourself to just have a good team, surround yourself with the people that you feel like you would want to be or become, or at least idolize for a bit, and then just go through the process, because you go through the process. And that's what I did, because we have our own physical tools and attributes that we're familiar with, but it's constantly, and it's a consistency of always going to the gym and having an open mind to learn from
Yeah.
everyone, especially because we're fortunate to have leaders and black belts like Carlo and the other black belts who are just there to help us and teach. They don't. Um, the
Keep the
beauty
power.
of it is that,
Yeah.
yeah, they don't. No one
That's
is
great. That's great.
keeping the techniques, or because
Yeah.
everything's online. It's just how people integrate it, like, into their own style, their own personality, how they use it, and then how they pass it. Because going back to the principles of each sport, you just have to know the principles, what to do, what not to do, and then express yourself through creating that style that you have with what you can bring to the table. So for me, it was, I'm fortunate to come from a good athletic background, so it's just adapting the movements and not hurting myself in the process to be able to stay long enough to learn. Because in this sport, people can practice up to 80 years old. I
Yeah.
mean, as long as you take care of your body, you're holistic with your approach, you're not hard-headed, you recover, and you can do this sport for as long as you possibly can. It doesn't have a limit. Whereas probably um, other sports, they have a lot of wear and tear, especially striking sports. There's a lot of risk there involved, because you can only get hit in the head a number of times in your life, or break your bones. But with jiu-jitsu, as long as you train with the right people, it's a safe environment, it's a conducive environment to learning, not full of ego. You're going to be able to practice for a long time.
That's great. I'm happy to hear that. It just shows the genuine love for the sport and
Yeah.
constant pursuit of, like, just getting better at it as individuals and as a country. Speaking of, I'd like to ask more of the national jiu-jitsu team. Is it something that you guys um train with constantly, or it's just something that's formed when, let's say, SEA Games is coming up or other tournaments? How does the national team here work?
Well, Dean and I joined the same year. Well, we were able to compete for the national team at the same starting 2018, but we had to win the trials first. So there's like a tournament. You join the tournament, and then when you perform well, if you perform well in that tournament, then you have a chance at joining the national team. And then once you join the national team, they'll send you to like smaller events first. And then when you do well in those small events, you have a chance of qualifying for the bigger events, like let's say SEA Games or Asian Games.
Ah, okay.
It's
So
actually
it's
a very
sorry. Go ahead, Dean.
can I just add to that?
Yeah, of course. Go.
Yeah, so yeah, going with what Carlos said, yeah, they put it's a system wherein you accumulate a certain number of points once you're in the team after you qualify. When they have those trials, which are supposed to be held every time there's a major event. So normally it's either SEA Games, Asian Games. So they that's how they select the members for the national team. So no
Yeah.
one is immune, meaning everyone has to try out, which is a good
Yeah.
way of keeping everyone on their toes, because
For
you
sure.
want to be able to send the best lineup for the country to represent us, because it's a privilege to represent it. It's not a right. So you want to be able to send the best lineup you can, so that they can represent everyone well, the rest of the team well, the rest of the country
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
it's a good way that we were able to streamline the processes for selection. So it's through the trials, and then through the trials you're in the team, you win smaller comps, you accumulate number of
Yeah.
points, and you're the one who's selected for the bigger competitions.
Right. I guess the
And we
advantage to that is that it keeps you like going because it keeps you in that mindset. Now you have to keep developing and developing
Yeah.
because is the cut intense? I'd like to ask like, for the
It's
national
very
team. Are
performance based. Like
it's performance based, yeah.
there's a lot of guys who are good jiu-jitsu guys, but maybe they had bad luck at the tournament, or maybe
Yeah.
they just didn't meet the standard, and they're cut also. So even our teammates got cut too. Like the guys who train with us, and you're not just competing against yourself, but when it comes to because there's limited slots, there's just a limited
yeah.
amount of weight divisions. So sometimes you have to compete against your teammate. Like let's say me and Dean, we were the same weight. We can't both do the Sea Games because there's only one athlete in the Sea Games. So they're gonna
Okay, yeah.
Per
base
country, yeah.
better performance in that year, and it's pretty clear actually the criteria. So you have to take the criteria, and then you
Yeah.
Yeah.
have to plan for the year, and then you have to compete and perform well in the tournaments that are important, and then that's how you're able to represent the country in the big events like this.
Yes. Yes, it's clearer. Yeah, thanks for that, Carl. But when you're competing, kung ari nasa tournament ka, how many, okay, let's say SEA Games ha, to be just more specific, SEA Games, how many category, is it a category basis na parang like, okay, this person will compete in this category because they're this specific weight, or is
Yeah.
it more just like, here are like I'm just gonna give an example. Five of the best athletes a team. Okay, they're the ones gonna be sent. Or is it category based?
It's
It's
very
by weight.
specific to the category, yeah, to the
Yeah.
weight, yeah. Because like let's say for example myself, my walking weight is around 88 to 90 kilos, and the
Mhm.
division I compete in is 85 kilos. So for me, it's impossible for me right now at this as of this moment to cut to let's say 77 kilos or 69 kilos. So it really has a lot to do with your weight. So let's say for example Carlo is a representative for the 56 kilo division. So his walking weight is around that weight. So it really depends on the weight of the person. It's not dependent on the scale, because let's
Yeah.
say we also have teammates who did not go for the trials, but they're also very capable of competing abroad. But since there are limited slots, they can't enter the team. So it's really based on the weight classes and their
Mm,
weight.
so weight class sila. So per weight class, how many uh, tournaments are there? Or is it just one per each? Kung are SEA Games again, to be more specific na lang. Per weight class, is it just one match or there are several matches under one weight class?
It's an elimination. So let's say there's eight of us. You all
In
have
one
a
weight class.
the winners advance, the losers are out. So the ones who win those matches, they advance, they have a next opponent. And then the ones in the next matches, so that's the next round. If you win that next match, in the case of the SEA Games, you make it to the finals. And then when you make it to the finals, the winner gets the gold and then the loser gets the silver.
Yeah.
You have to win multiple matches, and you have to be well, if you want to get the gold, you have
Yeah.
to everyone basically.
Yes, yes. All right. Thanks for that. I now have a better preview of how the sport is conducted in tournaments like the SEA Games. And I believe it's the same way for, like, let's say the Asian tournament, right? Or the tournaments, perhaps maybe what you went to in, what country was that again, Dean? You,
Sweden, Abu Dhabi, yeah, they're basically the same. It's like NCAA season, like in the States. So, Elite Eight, Final Four, and then
yeah,
the
March
finals. So
Madness. Yeah.
yeah, March Madness. So you just go through a round of 16 and then eight. It's like quarters,
Yeah.
semis,
So
and then finals. Yeah,
elimination basis siya. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
All
Damn.
of the tournaments basically. Yeah. Well, there are special tournaments that, like, let's say invitationals, which I've been part of. It's like let's say there's six of you in a division and you face everyone. So you're gonna have five fights, and the two people with the best records are gonna fight in the finals. There are also formats like that, but the ones that we normally participate in, the ones for the SEA Games, the ones for the national team where we represent
Mm.
the country, it's
Is
normally
right.
an elimination based. Yeah.
Yes, got you, got you. So I'd like to ask you both, how's the sports scene here in the Philippines, Jiu-Jitsu? How's the culture here in the Philippines? Do you think it's something that we've progressed over the past few years? Do you think it's something that's still finding its way, still growing, or it's already at its best peak form? I think Carlo kanina you had mentioned na we were way ahead against countries like Singapore, or was that Vietnam?
Singapore.
What? Yeah. What's the culture like here in the Philippines? Maybe we can start with you, Carlo. Yeah.
Well, pre-COVID, it was definitely. I felt like it was already. Well, we gained a lot of momentum because of the exposure from Sea Games, and Jiu-Jitsu was already included in the Sea
Yeah.
Games, and even us as athletes at that time, we were getting a lot of exposure. But then, of course, a couple of months later, COVID, and we were growing. Like there were more people trying to join the gyms. Like we
Yeah.
were getting a lot of new inquiries. A lot of kids were trying to join, and then we were also like activating a lot of partnerships. Like 2020, we were supposed to activate a partnership with Milo already, but then everything, all of that got put on hold because there's no jujitsu now. We're not allowed to do jujitsu, obviously because
Yeah.
it's a contact sport.
Mm.
Very intimate. Yeah.
How about you naman, Dean? What are your thoughts on its culture here in the Philippines?
Well, it's actually always improving, booming because there's more people
That's
joining
great.
because there's not a lot of publicity about it, especially since it's
Yeah.
not a national. It wasn't recognized as a sport in the national team before prior to SEA Games. So going off with what Carla said, 2019 was actually the year that most people found out about jiu-jitsu that it exists here. And thanks to people like Carlo who went to Brazil and brought jiu-jitsu here from one of the
Mm.
biggest teams in the world, which is Atos Jiu-Jitsu. More people are starting to know about it. Even international visitors, they know that this is one of the most competitive places to get to train in Southeast Asia, especially in with Atos Philippines. So it's it's a very young sport still here. There's still a lot of potential because there are not much grassroots programs yet as of now.
Yeah.
But once the popularity of the sport reaches the mainstream, which is always the goal, because that's where you get all these corporate sponsorships, all these very big partnerships with bigger names, and then they're able to see that, oh, there's an avenue for competition, which is the World Games, which is going to be held in Alabama 2022, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, and Asian Games, and you have Asian indoor martial arts. They're going to find out about jiu-jitsu, and when they do see it, more people are going to look for an avenue, and we'll be right here to receive them
That's
because
great. That's
there's a
awesome.
yeah, there's a lot of private clubs here as well. It's not just our team.
Yeah.
There are three other big teams, so there's a lot of places where people can train. So once they do find out about it, then you're gonna get more exposure, and then it's a cycle. So grassroots programs, and then you're gonna see someone in the World Games who did come from that grassroots programs, which Carlo is actually spearheading with other teammates of ours.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Wow, Carlo, parang ikaw talaga yung leader. Why? Based on how like the conversation has been going so far, it's like, do you lead the team, or are you more of like the OGs, or yeah,
He's
the
both, dude. He's
One of
both.
the coaches. Yeah, I'm one of the coaches of our team in Atos. But there are other teams. They also have their own like
yeah.
agendas. They have their own programs. But with our program, I'm one of the coach. I'm one of the black belts.
Awesome. So it's also a belts kind of basis where, like, sorry, when I hear belts or the promotion via belt color basis, I remember taekwondo. Is it like that in the sport as well, where um you go up based on your performance or weight?
No, it's not. Belts are not about weight, but I guess your exposure and also how the coaches want to develop you. So it depends.
Okay.
It's different standards for everyone. Like for example, if um, let's say it's Dean who is a competitive athlete, and then maybe a guy who started jujitsu is already 50 years old. Like we cannot hold him
Mhm.
to the same standard because Dean will pick up jujitsu a lot faster because he has a sports background than someone who doesn't have that kind of
Sedentary lifestyle. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
yeah, sedentary
starting.
life.
Yeah.
But then it's not just for people who have an athletic background. It's not even just for people who like to compete. Some people want to do jujitsu just to relax. Some people want to do
Yeah,
jujitsu
that's true.
because
Recreation. Yeah.
you burn a lot of calories doing jujitsu, and is pretty dramatic actually. So we do have a lot of people who start
Yeah.
off
Yeah.
wanna exercise and lose weight, and then later on they discover that maybe, oh, I have a passion for this. I want to try competing, and then some even do really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
before we go on break, I'd just like to throw some questions lang. We had mentioned belts, and I just realized that's does that say more of like your powers of sport or how quote unquote professional or um exposed you are to the sport, or how does the upgrading work?
I think it's more of like how much experience you have, and not
Oh,
even.
got
It's just, to be honest, the belt is just, it's just a piece of,
formality.
yeah, it's just a piece of cloth for me. And
Got it. Got it. Yeah.
you could be a blue belt and you could be the best guy, and doesn't really. It's just like it's very symbolic actually.
Okay. I got it. Yeah.
Seniority rin, because you don't
Seniority.
want to, yeah,
Yes.
you don't want a white belt who just went in the team disrespecting the leaders, the people who founded the school, diba? So it's like seniority rin. It's a
Got it.
form of
It's not
seniority.
as rigid though as other sports. Like for example, I feel maybe judo is a little bit more traditional. Jiu-jitsu is pretty relaxed compared to judo or compared to karate. In karate, you have to call your black belts. You have to call them master. You can't even call them by their name, diba?
I
Here
know. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in jiu-jitsu,
so
I
do we
don't.
start calling you master?
Yeah, I don't even like it when my students call me coach. I want them to just call me Carlo.
Coach Carlo.
Yeah, so before I throw it to break, I'd like to ask you both. Siguro for the young athletes out there or even aspiring athletes who want to get into the sport, what can they do to hopefully, like, I guess, expose themselves more or like be like you guys, like, someone who's competed in like tournaments like the Sea Games or international tournaments per se. What can they do right now? Like, what advice would you give to someone trying to get into the sport?
Can I take this one first?
Yeah, go. Carlo seems like he's deep in thought. But
Well,
go
well, you know the master is at work when he's not
when he's
talking, so
Rubbing the
no, but in
teach ba? No, for sure.
but in all seriousness though, I think not just with jiu-jitsu, but with any sport, just stay in the process. Just you know, surround yourself with the people who you feel is going to support you in that journey of yours. Go into every training session with your cup half empty so that you're able to absorb and just
Yeah,
open yourself up to those people you think will help you, because if you just try to do it alone, you're gonna get there, but it might not be a more guided route, because if you have people who are who genuinely care about you and who genuinely want you to learn, so it's just choosing the right people around you, maybe the right team, maybe the right teammates to hang out with, or confide with a certain coach that you identify with. And of course, if you want to look at your idols, and you just check the people who are the best in the gym or the best in the world, and then you can learn from them. It's just easy. Social media and technology makes it so accessible for us. So if you want it, you can do it even more now, because everything's online.
yeah,
So,
got it.
yeah.
Yeah, would you like to add to that, Carlo?
Mm. Well, first of all, you have to start jiu-jitsu, try it out first, and
Yeah,
then try to
expose
find
yourself to the sport.
try
Yeah,
to find a team that fits your style. Like our style doesn't fit everyone. Like some people try our gym and they don't like it, they move on to another gym. And some people, they come from other teams and they come to our team after, and then they try it, they like it. Like find someone who has the same vision as you, who has the same goals, and then align with those guys. Be consistent, and of course have fun. Because I don't think you're gonna be successful in a sport or an art that you're not enjoying.
Yeah, I agree.
so thanks for that, Dean and Carlo. If there's one thing we can take from this, it's Jiu-Jitsu is a really people-oriented sport. No, I love it. Especially with you guys. Parang you guys make it seem like it's a genuine sport where you all just support each other. both for your personal growth and for the sports growth here in the Philippines. And I'm happy that you guys have achieved that for yourselves and for the country.
Thank you. Thank you.
With that, we'll throw it to break. We'll be right back to hear more from Dean and Carlo.
We'll be back shortly. This is Sportswatch, only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I'm a king of rock, there is none higher. Sucker MCs should call me sire. To hold my kingdom, you must use fire. I won't stop rocking till I retire. Now we rock up points and come correct. All pressure on time and rhyme connect. Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste. I'm a king of rock, there is none higher. Sucker MCs should call me sire. To hold my kingdom, you must use fire. I won't stop rocking till I retire. Now we rock up points and come correct. All pressure on time and rhyme connect.
Let's dive deep into an all-boys conversation with Voice of the Boys, taking up full sessions about movies, anime, martial arts, and more. Voice of the Boys features pop culture, discussions on male topics, and issues with a hint of female perspective. Hosted by your resident voice artist, the Rick Matthews, and Voice the Slayer, Joshua Ravales. So grab a popcorn and enjoy the Voice of the Boys, only here on V81 Radio, Manila. Now back to Sportswatch, only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Back here at Sportswatch with our guests today, Jiu-Jitsu athletes Carlo and Dean. Oh, I think Dean lost connection. But Carlo, I'll ask you muna individually for now. Oh, there's Dean.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, hello. Glad to have you
Hello.
back. I'd like to ask you both. Kanina we tapped into the tournaments you both have competed in, and you had mentioned a big ones, like especially in the international level. Personally, what are the highest moments you guys experienced in the sport in itself? Maybe we can start with you, Dean.
The most recent one was, of course, the Southeast Asian Games. Why? Because it meant more to us. We prepared really, really well, and everything was calculated. We were dialed in. So I wouldn't call it pressure, but the stakes were higher, which actually made it more exciting because it was on home soil. When, of course, we wanted to defend the country through that, So that put a bit more excitement for us because we get to do it in front of the people that we love, the people who support us, the people that are surrounded, that we surround ourselves with, because they're actually responsible. They're also responsible for us being there, their support and their trust in us. So that was one of the most recent ones, the Southeast Asian Games. But personally, for me, another moment for me was the one in Abu Dhabi in 2017, because since that tournament, since that day, I feel like when I came back to the Philippines and with all those lessons and that exposure, that was when I saw my game personally to be really more, I would say, dialed in, because like I saw it was possible at that level that we could do it. It's just that, of course, you have to believe in yourself. You have to put in the work so that you eliminate doubt and fear as much as you can. But of course, when you're there, you just have to be in the moment. So yeah.
Thanks for that, Dean. How about you naman, Carlo? What are some of the best moments you've experienced with the sport?
I was able to experience really hard tournaments and go through really tough training camps. But yeah, even I was able to compete in even more competitive tournaments in Sea Games. But for me, when we were able to perform in Sea Games, it really made me feel like all the training that we did, even for my entire career, it was all worth it because
For
it was
that
just,
moment. Yeah.
yeah, that moment was just different. Well, it was just really good for us and the sport also.
That's great. That's awesome. Thanks, Rita. So, in every show I have, I normally ask the athletes what are some of the values, characteristics they pick up from the sport. Kasi I was talking to Dean about this the other day. I we believe, at least I do, that sports is a good metaphor to life, no, or what we go through on a daily basis. So I'd like to ask you both, what are some of the values slash maybe characteristics slash lessons, I guess, you guys picked up from being in this sport or being an athlete in general? Maybe we can start with you, Dean.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I agree with you that sports is a good metaphor for life, not just martial arts, but with martial arts, I feel like there is a certain level of like more respect and discipline because it's an art that basically it's like getting into a fight, but a more structured fight with rules. So,
Yeah,
what does that entail? It entails you um, unleashing your potential. So, if you have holes in your game or your characteristics, which is, let's say, some people I know, like they're some of the best people on the mats in the training room, but when they get to the competition, something changes. So it also has a lot to do with the mentality that you bring with the what do you call this? Being able to perform under pressure. That's a good quality that I feel like
it's
it
important. Yeah,
fortifies. Yeah, it does because when you're in the moment, you're not in thought. So when you're not in thought, it's just the natural flow of things. It's your instinct that's gonna be there for you. So a good characteristic, I think, is being able to perform under pressure, being able to uh, being just patient in the process because it's not an easy sport to get into, especially if you're very competitive. There's a lot of ego involved because um, that used to be me entering into it because I came from a background of track and field, and then I tried powerlifting as well. So when I was in it, I was like, oh, this is an easy sport because you can beast through it. But when you're there, it's different. It's like getting into a fight with, like I said, with structured rules. So if you just go into it, just be patient and consistent and unwavering in the process that your seniors put you through, then
yeah,
you'll come out of it. You'll really learn a lot. Like it also helps, with camaraderie. Like Carlo and I, we've known each other for that long,
for a
but
while.
we've
Yeah,
gone, yeah, but we've gone through so much. So, and I appreciate those things. So it makes you appreciate the people around you more because they're the ones that are gonna be there with you when you have your highs, we have your lows. So really good metaphor for life. So just keeping your circle tight and you're keeping your circle how you want to grow. So it gives you a good translation to, even outside of the mats, like the people you surround yourself with, are these people like helping me with my momentum in a positive way, or, you know, are they, is there more of a friction when I'm with them? So it helps you like just holistically approach everything else, not just the sport. And another quality I feel like most martial artists would have would be respect, because if you're an asshole in the sport, there's karma to it, there's a universal karma
yeah,
to it,
yeah,
so like people would know that, okay, let's say for example there's this person who is known for not releasing submissions, or there's this person known for being too rough, then universal karma will get them in the tournament. He's going to have a target on his back. So always be respectful, because everyone has their day, and it's going to bite you back in whatever way that's going to manifest.
thank you for that, Dean. That was well said. Thank you. We appreciate that here. How about you naman, Carlo? Are there values, characteristics you picked up from sport na you find yourself applying it to your daily life?
There's so many lessons that I learned with jiu-jitsu. I think there's so many values that's good for, especially for kids. Like some things that we could have them learn while they're young through jiu-jitsu that will prepare them for life later on. I can't say enough about that, but something that's super relevant for now is jiu-jitsu guys are super used to being stuck in uncomfortable and bad positions because you're not always the guy doing the attacking. Sometimes you're the guy who's getting smashed. Sometimes you're the
The
guy.
hammer and the nail.
So yeah, that the parable of the hammer and the nail. Sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail. When you're the nail, you're not in a good spot. But then since you do jujitsu, you're kind of okay with it. So I guess now COVID. Not all of us are prepared for this, but I feel like jujitsu kind of prepared me a little bit for
Yeah.
it. It's not the best position, but it's not the
It's
worst.
not
I
the
guess
end either.
we're alive. Yeah, we're still alive, right? We're still eating. We still have
Yeah.
food. We have our
We're
home.
still
So
living, yeah,
it's not that bad. We'll get out. We'll escape.
eventually.
We'll escape, and then we'll counter or something like that.
Yeah. Speaking of the pandemic, how do you guys manage to stay loose? Or are you guys still training? Obviously, it's tough because you guys, coming out of the SEA Games where you guys made a name for your both for yourselves and for the team, no? Obviously that's a good momentum, and then comes the pandemic in 2020. Even if we said a while ago we feel that year doesn't exist, like it's been a year. How do you guys manage to, like, I guess, get better in the sport or stay loose in general?
Since we're national athletes, we're actually not allowed to be playing in contact sports now.
Yeah.
But we're still able to train because we have like you don't need to train physically to improve in jiu-jitsu. You can learn by watching matches, studying your old
Or
matches, study
film. Yeah.
film study. That's great, and I'm lucky enough to have my partners here with me. So we train. So she also does jujitsu. So we train on our own. And I guess I a lot of the guys I think they do like small groups, but in big groups we can't right now.
For sure, yeah. How do you guys envision the future of the sport here in the country? Obviously, you guys want to keep it going the back, do what you guys, I guess, perhaps started or have progressed it to. Um, let's say the pandemic is over. How do you guys plan on, like, I guess, reviving it, given that things are back to normal and stuff? Do you guys plan to um, go back to training or how it once was?
I mean, as soon as we get the green light that it's allowed, and maybe um, when the IATF eases the protocols, or if we're in a bubble for a certain event, like we were supposed to go to certain bubbles this year, but of course, POC and PSC and our NSA, they're working on prioritizing what's needed first. So of
Yeah.
course, when we see that we have that green light, of course we're gonna get back on the process right away. But we have our own ways of staying in top performing shape, because we have, fortunate for us, we have access to certain gyms. We
Okay. Like
ourselves
right
have our
now,
own.
or
Yeah, yeah, and smaller groups, and at
yeah.
the same time we also have our own equipment. So it's just being able to be, to adapt, because resilience and adaptation is a good value of jiu-jitsu as well, that Carlo stressed on a while ago. So we just adapt. We not it's not making do, but it's maximizing what we have, so that we're able to still go towards that direction, which is forward with whatever we do, whether it's jiu-jitsu or not
Mm,
jiu-jitsu. So it's just staying fit, and thankful for us, we have our partner gym, and we have the uh, we have access to our recovery facility, which is Intercare, which we
yeah.
are grateful for, because it's not just about training; it's also recovering from injuries. So, like myself, I used the time last year to recover from
Mm,
some of the injuries and rehabbing some of them that have been hampering me, because there's no competition. So technically, you can take a year off from training. So,
yeah.
well, physically training, but you can still, of course, like what Carlos said, watch videos and just prepare yourself physically, so that when you get the call, you're ready. It's always staying ready.
Yes, yes. Speaking of, like, watching videos and exposing yourself more, let's say for those that want to get into the sport, let's say young enthusiasts, who can they watch or turn to perhaps learn more about the sport, especially now? And yeah, what can they do to perhaps just get better in the sport, especially if they're starting? Maybe Carlo, you can give some advice on that.
There are big names, like they're greats, like the guys who have accomplished the most. For example, Andre Galvao or the Mendes
Hmm.
brothers or Cobrinha, Marcelo Garcia. So there are a lot of big names that they could watch. But for me, I think they should, if they really want to participate in the sport, before they watch, they should just try first, especially kids. Try. It's so easy to start if you're a kid. Really.
Yes, thanks for that, Carlos. So before we go to break once again, I'd like to ask you both, based on your experience, the experience that you guys endured throughout the years or throughout your playing time or the times you've spent with the sport, are there insights or learnings you want to share to the youth, or perhaps what you probably would tell your younger self if you got the chance to? Like, what would it be? Can we start with you, Dean?
Hmm. What will I tell my younger self? Probably just probably just always stay in the moment and just ask questions if you don't know, because there's a lot of people who think they know, but they really don't until you're at that moment. So it's always good to ask questions. That's one thing I would tell my younger self personally, instead of learning it on my own right away. And of course, there's a lot of ways to improve, but I think one of the best ways to improve is to, number one, surround yourself with the people that you idolize, the people that you want to be, the people that you see yourself being with for how many years, because it's an intimate sport. So if you feel like you're comfortable with these people, then by all means you can expose yourself to them. So, and like I said, fortunately for us, our team is welcoming, and if you ask the questions, they're going to answer it, and there's no there's no agenda behind it. It's just they just really want to help you, because um, if you're starting out and they see that you have potential, especially as a competitor, then they will be able to help you, and you will also pass that torch to others. So
Yeah.
like before the pandemic, Carlo and I were training with a lot of the youth, and there's this teenagers transitioning into their 20s. So it's just nice to see them and give the advice to them, which is to ask the questions and always always just stay consistent with whatever you do. You know.
Thank you for that, Dean. That was really nice. How about you naman, Carlo? What advice would you give to your younger self, or perhaps maybe young aspiring athletes?
Hmm. Uh, Keep learning. Keep enjoying. That's a really tough one.
No, actually, that makes a lot of
That's why you
sense.
waited for me to answer, huh?
That's tough. I don't really know, to be honest. That's
Or
that's a
maybe a thing or two na lang you learned throughout your years with the sport.
I think he wants to say a lot to his younger self, so he's vocalizing right now.
but there's still much.
No pressure. I mean, your current self has achieved notable things, so
Mm, I guess, yeah. Is there a way to learn faster? I wish I could learn faster, but still do more. Uh, I
Hmm.
don't know. I just feel like I have so much to learn still, so it's so hard for me to say. It's hard for me
yeah,
to say.
yes, yes. So
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
observed from you both, from your answers, is the continuous importance of learning, and
yeah,
I believe getting every better every day. And I think that's what the sport is all about, given the dynamics behind it, like the many styles, the tournaments you guys have to go through in order to make it to the bigger tournaments. It's the importance of always having to stay on top of your game, continuously developing your skills for the sport. Okay, we'll be right back. We'll hear more from Carlo and Dean, but let's first take a break.
We'll be back shortly. This is Sportswatch, only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste.
I'm a king of rock, there is none higher. So your MCs to call me sire. To burn my kingdom, you must choose fire. I won't stop rocking till I retire. Now we rock up party and come correct. All special on time and rock connect.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and taste.
I'm a king of rock, there is none higher. So your MCs to call me sire. To burn my kingdom, you must choose fire. I won't stop rocking till I retire. Now we rock up party and come correct. All special on time and rock connect.
Now back to Sportswatch, only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Okay, we're back here at Sportswatch with our guests today, Dean and Carlo. Hi again, you both. So for this segment, it's a little lighter or more competitive in that regard, I guess. We'll be playing the rapid fires. So I'll be asking you guys the most random questions, and then just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. So
I was not oriented about this.
yeah, you weren't. I made sure you did not know.
Grabe.
Ready? Just say what's the first thing that comes to your mind, lang. No pressure. It's not something you have to think about. Okay, game. I think this first question, I can guess it. Pero, sige, go lang. Favorite tournament you both competed in?
Yeah.
Sige.
Sige, sabi ko ba? Next, hardest tournament you both competed in?
Worlds.
Abu Dhabi, 2017.
World.
Abu Dhabi.
World Championship.
Okay, for the both of you, yan.
Well, World Elite, pero
Yeah. Mine was
iba.
Worlds.
Sa States siya, yeah.
Yes. So, favorite Jujitsu move, or I guess element aspect about the sport?
Submissions.
Passing the guard.
Can we go on detail about that? Like, for you, Dean, why is submissions your favorite?
Because it's the ultimate form of surrender. Like in judo, what gets you to 100 points, which is 100 versus 0, which is an immediate victory, even if you have time left in the match, is a submission. What that means is that you made your opponent tap out, or they did not tap out, and they like, let's say if I have them in a choke, they didn't tap out and they pass out, or like there's a verbal tap, like like when you're applying a submission, or they tap out, like meaning they give up, like they tap you, or they tap on the floor, they tap on whatever they can get a hold of, and then it's like a form of surrender. So that's my favorite aspect of the sport. Just any kind of submission, whether it's a leg lock or a choke or a joint manipulation.
Yeah. Yes. How about you naman, Carlo? Sorry, I may have missed your answer. What did you say?
Passing the guard. It's when you're on top and you get past their legs and then you get a dominant position.
Oh, okay. Is that similar to what you did kanina when we showed the video?
Yeah, when you're
Yeah.
the top position, and then they're using their legs, so they're using their guard. And then when you get past that, I think that's the best. That's my favorite part.
Yeah. I'd like to ask, is that something that you picked up right away, or something that took you time to really master?
I think it's the most technical part of
The most technical
learning
part.
how to pass the guard.
Yes.
Especially with someone who has a good guard. I mean, if you're training, if you're competing with someone who doesn't have a good guard, it's easy. But if you're going against someone who has a good guard, it's very hard. It's super technical to pass the guard.
Yes. Thanks for that. Biggest supporters in your lives?
My entire life
Yeah.
has to be my My grandma probably.
Aw, I hope she's
Yeah,
tuned in.
same. Family, family,
Family. That's awesome. When
and
was the
also the
last?
teammates too.
Yeah,
Teammates
Yeah,
too,
the ones who
and
support me.
Carlo.
jujitsu.
He said he said entire left, so that's why I said my grandma.
When was the last time you did anything related to Jujitsu?
Oh, I do I do something jujitsu related every day for sure.
Every day? Really? What do you do? Like in quarantine?
Uh, my partner also trains, so she and I we train every day basically.
Nice. How about you naman, Dean? Last time you did anything related to the sport?
Well, I watch videos at least um, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. It helps to just film study, put yourself in that learning state, and analyze, and even your own matches, like just to see how far you've grown and how far you like what are the opportunities you may have missed in your past fights. It's good to
Mhm.
also view that. I think it's a healthy way of also looking at your losses, like what contributed to them, so that you can improve. It's just a matter of making the most out of the resources that you have and the times that we have going on right now. So that's a good way of just study is good, like visual study, because once you're there, it's basically like you're just training yourself. It's you don't have to physically do it, because if you're just in it and you're just imagining it, and because when you do dream about things, it's like you're also experiencing it in another dimension. you know
Got that. Favorite experience your career has brought you to?
Aside,
Hmm.
I really enjoyed the camp we had for SEA Games when we were in Tokyo. We
The
did the
camp?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did 1 month in Tokyo together, and it was really good.
Where did you guys go?
We trained in a gym in Tokyo called Carpe Diem, so it's probably one of the most competitive gyms in Asia. So we were able
They have
to,
a
Nice.
lot of competitors, and they have
yeah,
from different weight classes at a high level. That's why the national team chose to camp there for almost a month. And all of us, like we got closer together. We were able to experience training at a high level, consist on a consistent daily basis, not just once a day. Some people would go 2, 3, 4 times a day. Like we'd live in the gym just for that preparation, which is why it put the stakes for SEA Games even higher. But the overall experience was good because we were there. It was also Halloween. It was a bit festive. Because you get to see the Japanese in a different light when they are, celebrating. So it was a overall good experience for us.
Great. That's awesome. Fill in the blanks. Jiu-Jitsu is
Life.
life. Nice. Same answer, Carlo. That's awesome. Three important values you picked up from the sport right off the bat lang. Like what comes into your mind?
patience, perseverance, focus.
And you naman, Dean.
Unlimited knowledge. Okay. Okay. Openness to learn. Okay. Openness to learn. Resiliency and your ability to adapt.
Got it. Just the top of your head lang, what is the biggest achievement you guys wanna continue to achieve sa sport? May it be like a tournament you wanna compete in or a place you want to go to. What goal do you guys still have in mind in regards to the sport
I want to perform well in Asian Games.
in Asian Games? Got that. How about you naman, Dean?
To continue to perform at a high level, not just for a specific event, to just consistently improve and test myself, because there's no other way for you to
Get better.
um, see the effectiveness, and yes, of course, get better effectiveness of your training and your preparation, and the protocols that you do. If you don't put yourself out there, if you don't test yourself, that's why constantly putting yourself under pressure at a high level is a good way for you to improve.
Thank you for that. Last but not least, favorite jiu-jitsu athlete of all time.
Carlo Pena.
Until
Huh? Sorry. Who was that? Got
Hmm.
All
I'm
right.
sticking with my answer. I'm sticking with my answer.
Carlos, sorry, who was yours? I may have missed it.
Andre Galvao.
Oh,
He's our coach in the States.
got it. All right. We'll head to break. We'll be right back to wrap things up.
We'll be back shortly. This is Sportswatch, only here on V81 Radio, Manila. Ng 7, dapat lahat nakatutok sa amin. Catch these programs at 7 p.m. Pacific Time. Talk Shop Asia Global, USA Edition with Rolly Pagaspas and Rosario Cahucum Bradbury. Home Not Alone, Sounds from Home with Papa Gio and Freedom in Christ with Felsen. It's all about entrepreneurship, entertainment, and enlightenment. Back-to-back programs at 7. LA at 7. LA at 7. Exclusively on V81 Radio, Los Angeles. Homesick ka ba? I-download na ang aming mobile app at mag-enjoy sa mga kantang tatak Pinoy and feel like you're home. The V81 Radio mobile app, available in the App Store and Google Play Store. V81 Radio mobile app, free now, free forever. Now back to Sportswatch, only here on V81 Radio, Manila.
Okay, we're back here at Sports Watch with our guests today, Carlo and Dean. You both, thank you again for taking the time on your Saturday morning to talk about the sport here with us. We greatly appreciate it. I personally have learned so much about the sport and basically what its culture is like here in the Philippines. And I'm glad that somehow, some way, we've progressed and are making strides, especially in the international level. So thank you both again for that.
Thank you, Nicole, for having us.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so
Thank you,
before
guys.
we lang, I'd like to ask you guys, you both have found a passion, obviously. You both seem very passionate about the sport. It's evident, and that's really good. You both have found a passion for something that has become so significant to your lives, right? Can you share lang some encouraging words to our audience on how they can find their calling, even if it's not sports in general, or an interest that they can eventually pursue, just like how you both did. So maybe we can start with you, Dean.
With any, I think it's just opening up your heart and your mind to, learning new things and meeting new people. And it's just basically taking that risk and following what makes you happy. I think that's a good anchor, like your happiness. And, if you surround yourself with the right people, with whatever you do, you'll do anything. You can always go back to them as your anchor. So whatever you want to pursue, if it makes you happy and you're inspired to do it, then you should do it. As long as you have your anchors, which probably the people that you love, and
Yeah.
if your priority is your family, if your priority is to provide for your family, then if by all means this will help you, or any other avenue will help you achieve your goals, and it makes you happy and everyone else around you happy, then I think that's a good compass for you.
Thank you for that, Dean. That was well said. How about you, Carlo? Are there like encouraging words you'd want to give for someone who can perhaps pursue their interests or passion in general, even if it's outside sports?
Yeah, I think it's so important to find a passion, like something that you really want to do for the rest of your life, something that motivates you to wake up early in the morning. But also, aside from that, is to also find the discipline, recognize that discipline's important, and
Yeah.
understand like what discipline can do for your life.
Got that. That was well said and well concluded. So thank you again, Dean and Carlo. But before we go, do you guys want to share lang your social media handles, perhaps personal or the ones of your team that maybe our audience can follow to learn more about the sport or basically follow your careers? You guys
Yeah,
want to plug yourself?
you can follow our team at Jiu-Jitsu Manila, both on Facebook, it's Jujitsu Space Manila, and then on Instagram, it's Jujitsu Manila, just one word, at Jujitsu Manila.
And Dean, I think your username is there on your. So
I only put it there because you told me I could. So I go, okay, so yeah, that's a
yeah,
good idea. Diba?
go
So
for it.
just follow it. It's right here
Yeah,
at Dean
there.
Ross DJJ. So yeah, you can check it out. And yeah, and thank you, Nicole, so much for
Yeah,
having Carla and myself on the show. We appreciate
yeah.
it.
It was a
Appreciate
great
it.
talk. It was fun. So many things we learned from the sport. I appreciate that. So thank you both so much, and I'll see you next time. And I'll definitely be following you guys.
Thank you
So
so
thank
much, Nicole.
yeah.
Bye, Carlo.
Hey, see ya.
All right. If there's one thing we learned today at Sportswatch, it's that martial arts sports like Jiu-Jitsu, amongst other things, is very much relatable to life. If there's one thing I learned through Dean and Carlo's valuable stories and lessons, it's that the importance of consistency and the ability to always get yourself to learn every day and get better every day, which is something you can also apply to your daily life or even what you do every single day. So here's to sports being a metaphor and the importance of pursuing your passion and staying determined and disciplined, just like what Carlo ended the show with. So that will do it for today. Once again, this is your sports girl anchor, Nicole Ganglani. Thank you for tuning in today. I'll be on 2 Saturdays from now. I think we're taking a Holy Week break next Saturday. So we'll be having a guest from Frisbee next week. So I'll catch you then. And yeah, stay safe and wash your hands and take care out there. See you all.
Get your head in the game and join the tribe every Saturday as we hear the stories of athletes, fitness personalities, and enthusiasts from the sports world. Hosted by your resident sports girl anchor, Nicole Ganglani, bringing you sports action on Sports Watch every Saturday, 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Philippine time. Until next time, only here on V81 Radio, Manila. Tunog Pinoy, Tatak Pinoy, your all hits, all Pinoy digital radio station in South Manila. This is V81 Radio.
Ito ang paborito ng bawat Pilipino. Basta all hits, all Pinoy, panalo. Merong kwentong iyakan at tawanan. Kahit nasaan ka man, ito'y mapapakinggan. V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Ito ang radio mo, ito ang radio ko. V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Dahil mahal namin kayo. V81 Radio, V81 Radio. Para sa inyo ito, V81 Radio.